Hello everyone, my name is Marcus from It's Up and Running, and today we are going to be reviewing ADHD. This is going to be interesting and kind of fun. Alright, so I'm guessing that the first question you're asking is, why are you reviewing ADHD? Well, it turns out I have ADHD. I was diagnosed about 3 years ago, so I lived the first 36 years of my life with ADHD and it was undiagnosed. But today we're going to be diving further into ADHD. The first question is, what exactly is ADHD? ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is a developmental impairment that affects the brain's executive functions. And executive functions are things kind of like self-awareness, motivation, time management, and memory. ADHD impacts approximately 11% of children and 5% of adults in the US. Symptoms of ADHD in children are fidgeting, forgetting things, and having a lack of focus. Symptoms of ADHD in adults are being easily distracted, emotionally impulsive, and being verbally impulsive. So like talking a lot, or else saying something that just pops in your head kind of without thinking about it. When a person is diagnosed with ADHD, they're classified as either inattentive, hyperactive, or combined. I was actually classified with combined, which is like a little bit of like, inattentive and hyperactive. Even though there's no definitive answer on what causes ADHD, some scientists believes that Some scientists believe that it comes from an unregulated prefrontal cortex. It's responsible for thinking, thought analysis, and regulating behavior. So, as usual, I am going to be doing a 3, 2, 1 review. So that's going to be 3 pros, 3 cons, a comparison, and a verdict. So I hope you like this and stay tuned, but let's get started with the pros. And actually, before I start the pros and the cons and the rest of the review, keep in mind this is my experience of ADHD. So some people may have had different experiences than myself, but these are my experiences. Pro number 1 of having ADHD is creativity. Having ADHD makes you adjust to a neurotypical world. And for those of you that don't know, people with ADHD refer to people that don't have ADHD as neurotypical. Having ADHD makes you adjust to a neurotypical world, so you have to think outside the box of your individual ADHD to get things done. And constantly thinking outside the box eventually turns you into a very creative person. Pro number 2, high energy. I always have a very high amount of energy and spontaneity. This is because my ADHD kind of flourishes when I'm in like the moment. So if I'm doing something without thinking, then I am all up for that. But because I'm always so high energy, a lot of people think I'm actually much younger than I am. So I guess that's a good thing too. Pro number 3 is hyperfocus. Hyperfocus is when a person with ADHD becomes very fixated on a particular subject, task, or activity. It helps us get things done and stay very focused towards like the end goal like the whole time. This is actually a very good thing to have, especially if you have control over it. But some people don't have control over it, which that will actually lead us directly into the cons. I'm gonna go back to the last pro, which was hyperfocus. The con of hyperfocus is that you can become so fixated to the point where you lose like all concept of time. You forget to eat, you forget to sleep, you forget to interact with people, you even forget to, get out of like your chair if like you're doing something that requires like a sitting down. But that is a very big con because it can be very stressful and taxing on you physically and mentally. Another big con of my ADHD is my speaking. I think much faster than I speak, and I know that because I have ADHD that it will cause me to say something that I may regret in the future. So because of that, I'm constantly filtering what I'm thinking compared to actually what I'm saying. So because of that constant filter process, I guess you could say, I wind up stuttering a whole lot. And it's really funny because my friends didn't realize I had a stutter until I actually brought it up to them one day. And the main reason that they didn't realize it is because they're my friends. So I don't have to really filter out myself when I speak with them. But if I'm doing something like this YouTube channel, or else if I'm doing something like a job interview, or else, a presentation, well, I have to filter out myself before I say something. And that leads to a stutter. Con number 3 is going to be low self-esteem. Knowing you have the ability to do certain activities and tasks, but not doing them because your brain is not motivated, that can leave you and sometimes other people emotionally drained or else frustrated. Eventually, you begin to internalize some of that negativity, and it destroys your self-esteem. So the motivation, that's part of something that people with ADHD have a problem with, and that is actually executive functioning. So executive functioning controls your motivation and your working memory and things like that. So yeah, that's also a con, I guess. On to the comparison. And as you can see, I have a visitor with me now. This is the visitor that was in the background that was screaming. We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to go with the comparison. Okay. So, the best way to actually do this comparison is going to be my ADHD before a diagnosis versus after I was diagnosed. Having ADHD like your whole life, and then not being diagnosed until like you're 36, you kind of, you got to see how the rest of the world kind of views a person with ADHD. And also how your actions and things like that directly impact, I guess, who you are and and who you become. But as a child, I didn't do well in school. It wasn't because I didn't understand like the information. I just kind of wasn't motivated to actually, do schoolwork. The same thing kind of spread to college. College, I was able to actually tutor my wife on how to do certain classes and certain things. But when it came to me actually doing it myself, I didn't do well on tests. I didn't get my homework done. Sometimes I forgot. Sometimes I just wasn't motivated. But after I finished college, I got a few jobs. and they were pretty good jobs. I mean, like, the work wasn't too difficult, but I had one particular job that was a horrible experience. And that horrible experience played on all of my ADHD downfalls. I mean, I was hyper focused on doing like certain tasks, so I would forget to eat constantly. I mean, I would, work like 12 hours a day just to get something done that wasn't really that important. I began to get very low self-esteem, and I just wasn't happy at all. So after I left that job, I spoke with a psychologist to get some psychological testing because I knew that there was something weird going on. Then she diagnosed me with ADHD. After the diagnosis, I looked back at my childhood, at college, and at different jobs, and I kind of began to piece together exactly how ADHD impacted me. And it was interesting because I got a chance to see like what like that missing piece was, and adding that missing piece to the equation and to the different experiences that I had gave me a better understanding of who I was as a person. Now when I do things, I have to take into account my ADHD. I also, well, as you can tell right now, like to speak about mental health, because mental health is one of those things I think that gets ignored because you can't see it. So yeah, after diagnosis, I mean, I feel like a much more complete person compared to before being diagnosed. So let's go on to a verdict. All right, so my verdict on ADHD. My verdict is that ADHD is a superpower. My brain works very, very quickly, which is pretty cool. I mean, I can understand and resolve problems faster than like the average person. I can process large amounts and complex data and make it digestible for neurotypical people, which is also pretty good. And also, my creativity and spontaneity have led to all kinds of fun things, from everything from painting to writing a children's book to even doing this YouTube channel. But like all other superheroes, there are some drawbacks. I mean, the Incredible Hulk, he constantly has to buy new clothes because when he changes into like the Hulk, he rips up all his clothes. That's pretty jacked up. I mean, Superman, he pretty much has to, lie about his identity and who he is to try to live a normal life. With me, it takes me about 15 minutes to pick out toilet paper. Now, that sounds kind of weird, but I can literally spend 15 minutes in a store picking out toilet paper, just going from brand to brand, looking at the softness of like the amount of toilet paper, how many squares you get, on like each sheet, I guess. Rather it's double ply, single ply, or triple ply, all kind of those things. That stuff gets stuck in my head if I get hyper focused on it. But once again, it's a superpower. So that's about it. Thanks a lot for watching this video. And also, I have reached my goal of 100 subscribers. Actually, I surpassed it. So thank you very much. I'm Marcus for It's Up and Running. I'm just asking you all to be nice to everybody. Try to look at situations from another person's perspective. That's how I always do it, and I've gotten some success doing that. Well, catch you next time. Bye-bye.